We're going to do a little rearranging on the agenda. And we're going to move item number 6 up to item number 1. This is the request for qualification. We have Bradley here from Blue Hill Regional Planning Commission. And we have Cammie with Blue Hill Regional Planning Commission as well. So we will turn the floor over to y'all to give a brief breakdown of what we're going to be doing.
For sure. So this tonight is basically, since there's one firm that turned in qualifications, it's just a formality. Really, normally whenever you have several firms turn in an RFQ, request for qualifications, we go over what they've given us, this little book here. It's basically a resume. You're hiring somebody on for the job to pick out the streets, design the work, and inspect the work. You'll look through it. They'll give you kind of an overview of projects they've done in the past and how they've come out budget-wise. But since there is just one firm that has come in, they can go ahead and score it on their little sheet that we gave them here. And normally this just goes to the alderpersons, the board members, or the councilmen to score them and vote for them as the elected leaders of the town. And then that will select the firm. So basically from now on, Smith & Company was the one to turn in a proposal. So they will be the firm to design the project, prioritize the streets for the mayor and the council or the board of aldermen, and then of course with the input that you all have about the streets as well. So they will be the ones inspecting the project after we bid out a contractor, whenever we let the bids, and they will do a lot of that work, letting the bids out for the contractors to let them know. We'll solicit the minority, Section 3, Limino businesses, things like that as well. So, like I said, this tonight is really just a formality. We call it the RFQ selection. You go in, and normally, like I said, we have a few engineering firms that'll show up. But since we just had one, they'll just basically go through, score them what they think they're scored, and they will be the engineer, since there was no other engineer that submitted qualification for the project. So, that's pretty much the skinny of it. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We actually have a Smith & Co rep here, Mr. Kurt Basiro, and he can answer any questions on the engineering side about how they will go about prioritizing. Because from here on, really, they kind of take it, they let the bids, and we're just kind of there to document. And whenever the contractor comes in, we take over some of the money stuff and we start paying everybody. So that's how we are involved from this moment on as the administrator. I'll actually be the one working with the city from now on. Drawing down pay requests and things like that from the engineer and the contractor. So if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm sure Kurt wouldn't mind to answer any questions on the engineering side as well. Yes?
Are we talking about getting our streets resurfaced?
I believe so. Streets and drainage in the city of Morehouse.
When is this going to happen?
So since right now, just depending on where asphalt companies and where the paving companies are with their schedules, very possibly, probably I'm going to say conservatively next spring, but if it's, I don't know, do you know how they're running on schedules right now with paving companies? Pretty much booked up this summer, this paving season.
The main thing is when that window opens and when the decisions are made, because since paving takes hot asphalt, it's not typically done when it starts getting cold.
Yeah.
So it's either early spring when the asphalt plants start kicking it in gear.
Yeah. So probably conservatively next spring when paving season starts, we can get on somebody's schedule and get it done. Because whenever we let the bids out, there's some soliciting, like I said. There are publication periods we have to go through with the papers, let it circulate. There's just a lot of hoops you got to jump through in programs like this to get this kind of money. Because like I said, we're talking about like $500,000 that they're just going to be giving to the community. So we have to jump through all the hoops that they tell us to.
I'm sorry, I missed your last name.
Clark.
It's a grant?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yes, it is a grant. Now this, like they said at the public hearing, I'm sure they mentioned, there is no required cash match from the city or in-kind labor, but it certainly becomes more competitive whenever you have some kind of a cash match. So, but that can come later on. So, but this is one of those hoops, like I said, they make you jump through, but it's one of those necessary ones just to let the public know who they've chosen, later on who will be doing paving, and then whenever we close it out, we'll ask for comments on how everybody performed, including us.
Will the streets all be paved, or do they just fill holes, or?
So basically,
They're gonna
he could probably speak more to this. They'll probably fill in holes and resurface the selected streets. So when I talked about earlier, prioritizing the streets, $500,000 minus the engineering and administration doesn't go near as far as a lot of people think it does with street paving. But it will certainly get a good chunk of streets done. Does that answer your question?
No, they'll, what after this? If we get this grant
Yes.
and we don't get all of our streets done, can you reapply for another
Certainly.
grant to finish them? You have a waiting time?
So they just ask that you don't have two competitive grants for general infrastructure going at the same time. They won't allow that. So basically after we close this out, which looks like it'll be probably in the spring, beginning of summer next year, after it is closed out administratively on our end and all the money has been distributed and paid to the parties, after that you can apply for another grant, which now right now, there's always a loophole with grant money and stuff like that. There are other programs like emergency funding for COVID and things like that where you can do 2 at a time. But they evaluate how many grants you have open at a time, and it'd probably be very, very smart to just do this one right now. And we could attack different programs, like through FEMA or for firefighter stuff or local law enforcement grants or things like that. Playground grants through Department of Natural Resources. So there's a whole slew of grants, and we've had some sit downs with mayor and board member at the end of that. I forget his name every time, but anyways, we've talked about several different grant programs. Some of them, the smaller ones, you start getting into those 50-50 matches, like with the playgrounds and stuff, but you can do different grants at the same time, just not this particular program. You can't have 2 open. So, any other questions? All right.
Back to, I guess, a point Ms. Evelyn made, and Kurt, you might could speak on this. We kind of talked about multi-phase.
Yes, so what comes next after engineer selection, and I'll throw this in there because there's only one engineering firm, don't you have to get a waiver?
Yeah, so we'll have to get a clearance letter from DED, which we do several projects with Smith & Company. They're great to work with. There'll be no problems. Called a debarment check to make sure that they're good with the Secretary of State and they can do business in the state of Missouri. So.
Well, it's also to keep things out in the open too, so that it's been put out competitively for an engineering firm, and it's not here, sign off on this.
Yeah.
So, so that then comes a preliminary engineering report, and with that, so if it's in phases, then we start talking about priority and categorizing the streets. We do an inventory, so it's a spreadsheet that lists the streets, how much it's going to take to bring those up to speed. So then you prioritize them by the number of households that get benefit from that street being improved. So the way that priority goes is schools, hospitals, those are community benefit from a majority of people. And once you exhaust them, it goes to businesses, and then residential. So residential, everybody's on the level playing field, and it becomes, if I live on a short street, and a lot of people are going to get benefit, and the street is in bad shape, then that is a prime candidate to get repaired. Now, if you're at the end of a long street and there's only one house on it, then there's got to be a really good reason for that one to be above the case I just talked about.
They take every dollar and they maximize the benefit of every single dollar that they give you, because they ultimately want to help as many people as possible with these. I will say this, with the phase grants, whenever you do that, you're not guaranteed the money, and they don't give you any kind of points because you did a phase project. Although a lot of times you can get those phase project passed if you write them the same way you wrote the first one. It's not guaranteed money that you'll finish out all 3 phases or however many phases you have. So it's important that each project, which they always do, every project, every phase is its individual project, but part of one big plan. They like to see comprehensive plans, that the city has one, that they've got a plan of attack on how to better it for the citizens. And that's one of those ways that kind of lets them know they're trying to do good. So a phase project certainly would be a great approach for if you have several streets that wouldn't be all covered with $500,000 or so. Whatever you guys hash out with the PER, whatever total that is. So it might not be exactly $500,000, but it'll be close.
So some people that live on a really bad street, they may get mad because the street got done over there and theirs didn't.
Yeah, so like he said, if there are 2 equally long streets and 15 people live on this one and 2 live on this one, the 15-person street will get done first.
Okay.
In the residential realm, you got to work your way all the way through the schools, hospitals, and
Yeah.
things like that, because everybody uses those streets. Because you don't want your
everybody needs
ambulance
good streets.
you're running into a pothole while you're going into the hospital, and you don't want to have a concussion driving your kid to school. So.
Well, and to go back to the mayor's direct question,
Yeah.
when you write a PER and you have a list of streets, obviously you can just do a subset of those streets, but the funding agency, in my opinion, likes to see, well, we can't accomplish all that we want to do in this grant, but here's what we'd like to submit as phase 2 for a funded project after this one's completed. So you've already done the legwork, you've already done the hashing out of the priorities, and it's a lot easier for Boot Hill or whoever that planning agency is to say, hey, look, they thought ahead. Here's what they've got coming up. And, you know, the successive years, once that first grant's closed out, it's a lot easier, and you typically hear, hey, why don't you guys go ahead and submit at phase 2 or in phase 3 even.
And like like right now when I said that there's another pot of money in this same program where you can apply for both at the same time, that emergency money. We have a city who had a phase project. They applied for the competitive cycle and they knew we had phases coming up. Our field rep up at the program said, hey, there's this little pot of money over here, $500,000. Can you prove that the city needs it? Because if you can, we've got it right here. Sometimes if they know, and they know you've worked and done the legwork, you've got skin in the game, they'll help you out. Our state's pretty good about that with the grant money. In the CDBG program, they're actually pretty good about it, trying to expand the benefit. And if you've got a phase project, we'll try and find some money to meet the need. So they're pretty good about it.
Board? Do y'all have any questions? Either Mr. Bradley or Mr. Carter?
If you guys think of any other questions, Mayor and the alderpersons have my contact information. I have a few business cards in my little thing over here, but if you have any questions, feel free to send me a call or an email or anything like that, and I can certainly get you an answer if I don't know off the top of my head.
Now, this qualification evaluation sheet,
Yeah.
is this something we fill out, finish up tonight, and do we fax this to you, or?
So normally you all will fill them out, and what would happen is Cammie and myself would tabulate them while you were having the rest of your meeting. And at the end of the meeting, we would say, okay, based upon the Board of Aldermen's decision and ranking, this firm was selected based on their evaluation on the forms. Congratulations, yada yada. But since that's not the case, if you just want to fill them out, just give them whatever kind of a score you think it deserves right now. We can take them and then go on. Since they are the only one, I would not recommend giving them super low score stuff. Which never really had a selection where Smith and Company didn't get really good numbers. But, all right.
Is there any more questions from the audience? of either Mr. Kurt or Bradley or Ms. Cammy?
I'll just give a comment. So as far as the streets and drainage, so the streets, engineering firms can pretty much tell from driving the streets, taking pictures. But drainage, if there are particular areas that flood or don't appear that the culverts are open, those are the things that the engineering firm, if they're doing their job, they're gonna go to this group, and this group is gonna solicit feedback from y'all, so that the standing water or people's driveways being flooded and collecting water, those incidents, we're trying to alleviate them in the same project. And those typically don't take as much money, but it takes somebody that knows the area, because I literally would have to be in the middle of a gully washer to see when this is all going on.
Yeah, for sure. And usually if it's raining, you guys are so close to our office, if it is raining, we usually try and help one another out for our environmental purposes. It helps us whenever we're writing this grant to take pictures of whenever there are the gully washers, and we take pictures of standing water and how the streets are cracking because of the standing water and the running water, and they're degrading. So if it ever does rain, you might see us out driving around one of our 2 company cars taking pictures. Don't be freaked out. We're just trying to help you get some money.
Where is your base?
Our office is in Dexter at the old
Dexter.
Armory building.
I got a tornado the other night, huh?
We did have a tornado the other day. Fortunately, our office was spared. We did not lose anything.
So if we get heavy rain, us or any other member of the public taking pictures,
For sure.
sending them to one of the board members, and then we can forward them on
Yeah,
by
absolutely.
email or...
They usually take their own pictures for the PER, but if you get a really good picture, they'll probably
Yeah.
use it.
Okay.
Well,
I'm looking for that.
Yeah, that's what they look for too. They don't, if you can provide pictures of things that are happening, power to you.
yeah, like that ditch over there by you, Stepping, that ditch over by you, Danny, from that, yeah, that water. That's awful.
Bad mosquitoes over there.
So that's the other thing too, safety. If there's safety issues, I can guarantee you, when those reports go to the reviewers, they think twice and 3 times about not approving those when it has a serious safety issue.
Yeah. Well, whenever that happens, especially like school buses when they go through, ambulances when they go through, we had just a little bit too high of a drop off in a city not too far from here. And they said, we are not paying 1 dime to the engineer or to the contractor until that is fixed. So if it endangers the health and safety of those in the community, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're not paying until it's fixed. So, and they will get right on it if they're not getting paid.
Do you guys work with, like, I'm talking about the ditch on that side of town over there that floods a lot?
Okay.
Now, there's fields out there, like cornfields, and do you work with the farmers, or how do you do that?
Unless there's a need for acquisition with land, we really don't work with private owned landowners and things like that. Unless some of the work's gonna
One side
happen.
of this is the city, and the other side is farm.
Interesting.
Well,
Well, you wouldn't be acquiring land, you'd just be making
Well-
some kind of adjustment. You just have to, he can probably speak more to that than I can.
Yeah.
so I can answer that in a roundabout way. We have a city, southern Butler County. The main drainage avenue through the city goes out through one large culvert, and then it cuts across a farmer's field. So in that situation, we're proposing to lay 2 pipes in there, because when that backs up or gets stopped up, then the water backs up in the entire city. So at that point, the mayor, engineering firm, us, and the landowner get together and propose that change, so that A, they're not blindsided, and we can work numbers to say what that's gonna do to farmer's field as far as the amount of water that we're talking about.
That's what I did. All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, guys.
Clark.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank y'all.
Thank you all.
I will see you guys.
Get you over here and I'll wait for you. It's small, but needs to be ready.
I'll take it out.
Talked about that, little river drainage.
Mayor Bashirs,
Present.
Alderman Dill, Alderman Sutton, Alderman Dial, Alderman Hodgkiss.
All right. Now we'll get on to our regular meeting agenda. In front of you, you'll have the financial statement for June of 2021. Everyone's had a chance to go over that. Is there any questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion that we accept the financial statement for June 2021.
Got a motion on the floor? Got a motion and a second, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is the collector's report for June of 2021. Never had a chance to review that. If there's no questions or comments, concerns, I'll entertain one. Got a motion on the floor? Motion and a second, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is the minutes for personnel session dated June 1st, 2021. Everyone had a chance to read these? No questions, concerns? I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion on the floor to accept the personnel session minutes from June 1st, 2021. Motion and a second, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is the minutes for regular session dated June 14th, 2021. Everyone had a chance to review these? Have any questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion on the floor. Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is the minutes for special session dated June 29th, 2021. Everyone had a chance to review these? Any questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion that we accept the minutes for special session of June 21, 2021.
Got a motion on the floor? Motion and a second, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is, you'll see in your packet an invoice from Woodhill Regional Planning Commission for the 2022 dues in the amount of $568.05. 25 cents, maybe. Any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to pay the dues to the Louisville Regional Planning Commission, in the amount of $568.05.
I make a motion that we pay the dues to the original planning for $568.05.
Have a motion on the floor. Motion and a second, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is an invoice from GNC Supply Company in the amount of $3,308.24. And this is for supplies, couplings, fittings, marking flags, PVC pipe, saddles, clamps to do taps on the water lines. These are all things that we have to have on the shelf in case we have a water main break or service line breaks that need repair. Most of this stuff is not stuff you can just go to Lowe's and buy. This is industrial, commercial type fittings and parts that we need on the shelf. Because when you're gonna have a break, it's gonna be on a holiday, on the weekend, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're gonna have to shut down a section of town to fix a leak. So these items are currently being stored at the city maintenance garage. Yes, ma'am. It is locked up and secure. Any other questions? I wholeheartedly agree. Anybody else have any questions? Concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we make a purchase to GNC Supply Incorporated for parts totaling $3,308.24.
Have a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Next item on the agenda is this is just some information I want to give to the board. It's called AP, Government AP Solutions. It's a credit card billing software and company that does credit card billing for government entities for your invoicing. So currently, we're using Square for our debit credit card billing service. And this is an outfit that offers this to only government entities. So it's just giving y'all information tonight. We're not voting on this to move forward one way or the other. Just so y'all have it, you can study it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Ms. Patty, and we can work together and try to get any questions that y'all may have answered. And if this is something that we might want to do moving forward in the future. Does anybody have any questions over right now?
Would this replace the Square or it's work in conjunction with it?
It would replace Square entirely.
So all of the things that we don't have access to on the Square because we're still locked out, then what happens to that information?
The information as far as the going back, being able to print off reports from Square, that's sent to an iCloud account email address.
Right.
That we no longer have access to. The person who has the email address will not, or the password to that, will not give it over to to the council, to the city. So, to answer your question, what happens to all that information? This agency said that we might be able to get it, they might be able to assist in getting it.
Okay.
But how that happens, I've not directly spoke with them. Ms. Patty has been the point of contact on this. Do you know, can you speak to that, Ms. Patty?
They didn't give a definitive answer on how we're going to capture years' worth of our information. Square's only answer to getting that was to do a complete replacement, which would erase every bit of data that we've ever had. And since we really can't do that, if we're forced to, we need to go with a different company. In this case, it's going to be them, hopefully. And then we'll have complete access, complete control, and we won't have to ever worry about this happening again. It'll be attached to the entity, which is City Hall, not an individual with a social security number.
Right.
So as far as going back on that, more than likely they'll be able to get it. I'm just not sure they'll be able to capture all the way back to when it first started.
Does that answer?
Yes, yeah.
Darren, you have any questions? Y'all have any questions? Any questions?
This will allow the citizens to pay online too, right?
Yes. Part of the package is they could provide a landing page, and that would be online. They can create an ID and pay their bill online. It wouldn't be full access website, nothing with bells and whistles, but it would be able to be accessed and you can pay your bill through there, through the portal. And I think that's what they reference it as on the paper.
So for the public who doesn't have this, we're just entertaining this idea. The information that's provided, it's looking like, for the first terminal, it would be $4.95 plus shipping to have that. And then what is the cost per transaction? You have an amount on that?
Currently at Square.com charges 2.8%. They're gonna go with 2.75. And that would hit our immediate demographic as far as the amount of the bills. You've got some that are lower, you've got some that exceed that. We don't have to pay anything monthly. They will get that transaction fee, the user fee, and that in our hands, and we're done with it. We would have to pay for the actual piece of equipment, the terminal, and then we'd have to pay a setup fee, which is $199. And within that would be training and setup, and it would probably take 3 to 6 weeks if we go this way. But other than that, there's no other payments.
What about the maintenance for the webpage or the,
All handled by them
okay,
as we go along.
which is all included in the $199?
Yes.
Okay.
But again, it's not gonna be a full-blown website, it would be just what they call a portal or landing.
Right.
Now,
You can just share a link.
Yes.
It does state here that the customer will pay a service fee of $1.75 for any transaction under $60, and also for all ACH e-check transactions, regardless of the amount of the bill. A credit/debit card transaction over $60 will charge the customer 3% of the total bill. Example, on a $100 utility bill, the customer will pay $3 for completion of the transaction.
Yeah, the 3%, that's what we went with until I told them about Square, then we negotiated, now it's not on that, but it is locked in at 2.75.
Okay.
It's not a great deal of savings, but it's something.
So 275.
It's more about the convenience than anything for people to be able to pay either online. Oh, it's the 10th, I forgot. I can go online and make my payment.
Yes.
Or I ran out of checks or no cash or. Okay.
And questions? All right, we'll move on to item number 9. Men's and Men's to take care of city taxes. email, I'm assuming you got it in the packet. I'll just read the email. I have an email here. It's from the Ben's CPA firm, and it says, Jill, thank you for the opportunity to offer payroll tax filing services to the city. We understand that we will assist you with the following: computing and initiating Form 941 payments via the EFTPS system, filing Forms MO-941 on a monthly basis, filing Forms 941 on a quarterly basis, filing MOBES-4 on a quarterly basis, initiating Form 940 payments on a quarterly basis via the EFTPS system, filing Form 940 annually, filing Forms W2/W3 annually, filing Forms 1096 and 1099 annually. We understand we will be working from QuickBooks reports, providing the information needed for the above filings. We estimate our fees to be between $200 and $250 quarterly for these services. Please let me know if you have any questions. Brian. Are you found it? This is getting a CPA firm to come in, would handle this for us, get our books ready to be audited. The city of Morehouse has not had an audit since 2009. So you gotta have a outside CPA firm to have our books in order to be submitted to an actual auditing firm to do the audit. So, the quote from Brian to take care of all that, this is just on handling make sure all taxes are done, up to speed, would be $200 to $250 quarterly, or $800 or $1,000 yearly. So, this is something that we can discuss a little bit more. If y'all want to say, hey, this is something we want to do. To get a bid, I think that'd probably be fine. Just to see what other services other companies are offering. Alright, so I will entertain a motion to seek bids. To get the bids on.
I make a motion that we get bids from other CPA firms to do our quarterly taxes.
I have a motion on the floor.
I would like to have the bid match what Brian's asking to do, so it'd be apples to apples.
Okay, yeah.
Provide this information to me and say,
Have a motion on the floor. Have a motion in a second, all in favor? Okay, moving on to any other business. Alderman Bill? Alderman Sutton? Alderman Hutchins?
yes, I have been approached, and I know you've been approached several times about someone that is interested in buying the old city hall. And I think it's something we, need to talk about, think about it, get feedback, whether it's in the community, however, but it's been, I don't even know how many years it's been vacant. We know there was a water leak in it.
and even if there's interest in selling. Get feedback from the public.
Talking about over on Duncan Street.
Yes. I believe 91 or 1992 is when that building was vacant.
Very, very well.
Tell. Tell.
I'm not gonna share it on this.
Well, the individual that's interested in buying it would like to restore it. I mean, he, doesn't have plans to level it, or, I mean, he wants to restore it. So,
Eventually, if you don't do something, it's gonna have to be knocked down.
I know it's got a lot of sentimental value, and people think, oh, I don't want to see it, hate to see it go, but at the same time, like I said, we don't have the resources.
But the thing about it is, if you've got someone who's interested in purchasing it, to restore it, then they'll restore part of it.
Right, right.
And
And small towns, when you start losing your history, you lose it.
Right.
And if it were to, I mean, have any damage, I mean, where it's an eyesore, even more, we have to clean it up, that's an expense that we'll have to, absorb. And I just think the more that we can do to get our town cleaned up and it looks good, and the people are more apt to want to come over here. I mean, when they haven't, they got a new purchase at the store, they've opened up the restaurant. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Friday night, the line was around the building where people were getting fish. I mean, it was underneath there, all the way down to the carport, and I was like, I almost wanted to take pictures. I was like, look at the line. So people are driving over, they're asking, they're like, oh, they're posting pictures, the food looks good, let's get over. So I'm just saying, the more people you get over here, but we want to look good.
What about the historical society? They did get $400 when they stayed on there, and a lot of historical things, right? They might be somebody that you can get a hold of.
What did you call that?
The historical society.
A lot of that, a lot of things that go through the historical society, you have to realize that what they do, the historical society works with individuals who own properties in order to aid them in restoring that property back to where it's supposed to be. There's a lot of guidelines on what you have to do to stay in line with those things. So
I think all if you replace bricks, they have to be period to the time when the building was built.
And that's one of the things where, if the city was financially capable of undertaking tasks like that, that would be great, because it would be the city restoring the building. But we all know at this point in time, the city of Morehouse is not financially capable.
Well, I know the historical society did a lot of houses at Fake, and
Yes, ma'am.
you have to open it to the public once, like 2 days a week, each week.
And that's what I'm saying,
That's it.
but they're not, the historical society is not paying to have those things
They
redone.
did the fire department up there, the old fire.
Well, we can ask them to, bring information on this for us, we can do
Yeah,
that.
the old fire department.
Yeah,
they
we can
did.
take a look at that.
Nobody owned the fire department.
But they help to pay for these things, and the city goes in and matches dollars, and it has to be done in certain criteria for the historical society to go in and do these things. If you've got an individual who's wanting to purchase the city hall here for that purpose of restoring it, then, it could be a possibility that, they could get this historical society with the help of the city, speaking on his behalf, and, the historical society could come in and help them. What I'm saying is, when you go to restore those buildings, especially through historical society mandates, it's like Joe said, if a brick's missing, that brick that had to be replaced there has to be of that period. You can't just go over here and load the brick off the shelf and stick back in there. Now, going up, but it's not very accurate.
Yeah, if it makes sense to do it, then you know.
Yes, sir.
I'll comment on what happened with some of that downtown Triple County Donaldson. So they had businesses that were signed up for that, and they were gonna put money up front, so here's what happened come COVID. They were businesses, so their business was struggling. And then the State Historical Society basically is saying you need to do this, this, and this. So there also needs to be the understanding that if you have an individual that wants to restore a property but not listen to Jeff City on everything you need to do and the delays that go with that, that may in some cases be a no-go.
Right.
So you need to be careful on how that's being
Oh,
approached.
yeah, absolutely.
So what would be the next step in that? Taking bids for to have it appraised, or what would we vote on whether we're interested in trying to sell it, or, I mean, what's this gonna look
Is
like?
it even safe to go in there?
I'm on, yes.
What will that really be used for once it is restored?
The person who's interested in buying it wants to put some offices in there. He already owns a business here in town, and he just strictly wants that, so it would be a office space. But he really likes the inside, the outside of the structure, so he'd like to be able to, like I said, restore it to its, natural state, the floors that were in there and those kind of things, and then be able to use it as office space.
Well, it's not being used, it's just gonna keep deteriorating, so I would say sell it,
Right.
It's been vacant since 91 or 92.
yeah.
My concern is it's a cost that we don't have the resources to put into it to fix it. And we're still having to keep insurance on it. We still have to, and if something were to happen, I mean, just like I said, recently there was a water leak. Apparently the water leak had been going on for quite some time. And, so, it's a wonder, it didn't have
Yeah, the
some
basement's been
damage
full of water
worse
for a
than
long
what it
time.
already,
But we,
Basement's been flooded.
Ben and Bobby got the
Down there.
water pumped out, and they got the leak fixed in the basement.
so,
I think, maybe ask Tabitha what route we have to, what do we have to do? Do we have to?
sell our property?
Yeah.
Take bids?
To
or-
take bids, do we have to advertise it? Do we get it appraised prior to? What's the steps we need to take? I think get some legal counsel.
Definitely want to get some type of appraisal. on it,
Yeah.
Because, even if you take bids, you want to be able to take bids and say that's what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah, that's transparency too.
Yeah.
No, nothing. I mean, he has a number he's offering, but, we don't even know if that's in the ballpark, of what would be fair. So, like I said, you have to advertise to let other people, who knows, there may be somebody else that, other people that are interested as well, so.
Oh,
What
yeah.
is he offering for it?
Do what?
What is he offering?
I'm not gonna say right now, but, it's not peanuts, so I will say that, how about that? And it's not official, do you know what I'm saying? He just, he's asked several times, and he's really interested, he's toured the building more than once, and he's like, I'm really, really interested in it, and I
You
say-
really don't want to say anything, because if you do put it out to public.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's
I
not
don't,
how this is.
Then you don't want to be putting numbers out there. So
Yeah.
people are trying to
Anything
take our
else?
bidding.
Mr. Darren? No. Last month, we discussed and kind of put off setting a budget for tools for the shop. We know we need an air compressor. We know we need a 2-inch gas-powered pump. Did some calling around for a 2-inch pump, and one of the DGA, I think it was $1,100 for a 2-inch pump that has a Subaru engine on it. Well, we don't need a pump to go around that's got a Subaru engine on it. We need something that's got a common engine on it, that Briggs engine or something like that. So we need to try to set a budget that everybody can live with to get some basic stuff. You know, Ben's bringing his tools over, using his stuff, and that's no good. So I was just going to suggest setting the budget. This is all negotiation. What y'all feel comfortable with, but $1,500 to $2,000 range on air compressor for the shop, 2-inch pump, basic hand tools, wrenches. So like I said, because as I explained last month,
We had none of these incompleteness.
no. And the ones that we bought last fall are no longer around.
This money comes from which fund?
It will come from general. Because I asked Tabitha, and she said that it could not be used for capital, out of capital improvement fund. She said that would be a stretch.
Mr. Mayor, I got a question.
So, yes, sir.
The pump and the compressor, those are discrete assets, so it's easy to keep track of them. The hand tool sets, are those assigned to an individual, or are they community property for multiple individuals? Because those are the ones that are gonna walk.
When you say it's community property, no,
Multiple individuals that would be using it.
well, it would be, the 2 maintenance men that we have would be the only 2 individuals
Okay.
with access to
Joe,
the tool.
can we split it between water and general since he's gonna be usually fixing the water stuff?
That would be the tactical question. I don't know.
I mean, we split other stuff if we're going.
Well, like this 2-inch pump, that's for, we've got to excavate and fix a water leak or something. We've got a 4-inch pump, but if it's not tons of water coming in there, it's losing prime, and smaller 2-inch pump is what we need to do the smaller stuff. The 4-inch pump is what we use for transferring lift station and out of manholes pumping to a lift station. But this 2-inch pump would be like the water leak that's on Duncan Street that we've got to get fixed. We need a 2-inch pump.
So do we have to wait, or can we make a,
No, you can motion it out, however y'all
I
want to
mean,
do
can we
it.
make a motion to split it if we can?
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion that we do a budget for the tools.
Hey,
Let's go question first. Are we gonna shop around? I mean, we're gonna compare prices, or are we just automatically saying, here's the budget, $1,500?
We're, when it comes to the hand tools, there's wrenches, sockets, we're going to Harbor Freight and getting that. This stuff's gonna be in the mud, and we're not going and buying
Snap-on.
Craftsman, S&K, you know, we're
We're not having a snap-on truck.
right.
Bus.
Okay. I just wanna be, pliers, wrenches, stuff like that, they all work the same, they all last about the same. Now, if we're talking, some of the higher end stuff, then, yeah, we want something that's gonna last, but stuff like that.
What are you gonna do if some of the hand tools disappear?
We now have inventory controls in place.
It's good,
So
it's good.
regular inventories are being
Maybe
conducted.
check-in, check-out system or something like that?
We're working on getting everything buttoned down, but we're inventorying what's in the shop, what's there. I've put out to every department to do an inventory. Police department, water and sewer department, everybody that has a department, we're conducting an inventory. So we know what we've had, what the taxpayers have paid for, and if something tears up, we need to make note of it in the inventory. This item is broke down, is state of disrepair, and we're getting rid of it. Not that it just
Some
disappeared.
accountability so that, you know, you don't end up in the same place now that Jill's being bought last fall and they're not here now.
Correct.
I will make a comment. Harbor Freight tools are good, but if you're using pipe wrenches, you can't beat a rigid pipe wrench.
No, rigid.
Stand by that one.
Well,
I'm talking about like box wrenches.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, hand tools, if you're going socket sets like that, go, and I realize that Harbor Freight is not the top of the line of anything. But if you break something from Harbor Freight and you take it in there and say, hey, I just bought this and it's broke, they're gonna say, go back here on that shelf and get it and go back out. And that's as good of a return policy as you get from any place in town you go by, including your Snap-on dealer. That's what they do. And you're not having to wait around a week for a Snap-on dealer to decide to come drive back up in your driveway, you know. So we are going to be frugal with the money that's spent.
I have to admit, I have a garage full of Harbor Freight stuff.
Yes, sir. Stacked up on the wall.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
You make a motion?
I make a motion that we
They're pretty decent.
approve
You break it, you
maximum
can
budget
get it.
$2,000 to supply the city with needed tools for the maintenance.
And if it can be split into general and sewer.
I don't know that it can be.
That's what we're saying, but if it can be,
I
that's
think
how.
it can be, but we'll make sure that you say it in your motion.
But are you saying that we're only going to approve this budget if it can be split?
No.
No, but we're saying if
If it
it
can be
is,
split between the water and the
yes,
general,
we're gonna split it
If not, we'll
1,000
take it
to
out of
the general and 1,000 to the sewer.
Donate.
Okay, so
Donate.
I make a motion
Stephanie.
that
Can you come down
we
here?
approve a $2,000 maximum budget for tools for city maintenance, that we will see if they are able to be, the cost is able to be split between general and sewer funds. Would that be right?
Yes, that's fine. A second.
Motion on the floor, motion and a second, all in favor?
Now, do we need to make another motion to amend the current budget to reflect this?
No, that's just capital improvement. Okay, final thing I have for any other business is the proposal I spoke about last month from Vanderbilt. It was $99,000 for updating our 4 lift stations. Well, the county has graciously, absolutely, asked for an updated proposal. So Vanderbilt applied us and submitted one directly to the county, updated proposal for a total of 8 pumps for our 4 lift stations, new control panels, new controls, and OmniSite devices that will do radio communications if there's a problem in the middle of the night, send an alert out through text to the maintenance guys so they can check the lift stations. And the county's approved paying $148,352 all in all for the city. So that's and the work is to start. Nick from Vanderbilt called and said that the work would start the end of September, beginning of October. So that's a good thing there. All right. City employees. Chief Hayes? Nothing. Bobby? Nothing? Miss Patty? Nothing? Chris? This will go around. Oh, James, didn't see you back there.
The pump testing is due again for our apparatus. Just want to get permission to go ahead and go forward with that.
Now, which trucks?
Both of the engines and the new ladder.
Thank you for the flags, by the way.
Yes.
So, do you have a cost estimate?
So $175 per pump or per truck. We've got the cost of coming down here, the labor cost last year, because we done it in conjunction with another department, he didn't charge as much labor, but we'll do it more. Last year was like $80-something. And I do know on the ladder truck, because it's set outside during the winter, it's going to have a couple of valves replaced. I talked to him a while ago, didn't have an exact cost on that. Looking maybe like $200 a valve to get that done.
So there's 2 valves?
2 that I know of, there may be more. So there's 2 that I know of that's going to have some work done to them.
Now, is this the company out of St. Louis?
Yeah, Edwood and St. Charles.
And when is that?
He done it last year in June. We just got to have it done sometime this year between now and December for our 2021 pump testing record for ISO. It's been over a year since it's been done. I'm just trying to get it set up to get it complete so we're still in service.
Entertain a motion?
And that's gonna be roughly 1,000 or more, right, James? Probably, maybe
Yeah.
175 times 3, then 80, then 200 times 2.
Yeah, so probably, I'd say 1,000, maybe 15 if it's optional. We should have it in our budget.
Make a motion, we approve Chief Whitley's recommendation for the fire trucks to be pump tested and both in the engine ladder.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor, got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no other employees? All right, we'll go to the public, sir. Mr. Neal, ma'am?
Me? Yes, back to the credit card thing, do we not have a credit card now that, or a machine that we can use, or?
We have a machine that we use, and it charges 2.8%, that's a user fee. The problem is on our side, if we are to use that for our own information, be it to reconcile accounts, be it to just look at the history, we do not have complete access. We do not have what would be referred to as their dashboard of control. And so I can't even do a software update at this point. I can't retrieve reports and print them off. When I send them to the email that's on there, they just disappear, they vanish. They go to that email, but I don't have access to that email. So we want complete control, and we want the city to have control of that. And so by doing this, hopefully, even if it's not per se this place, the ADP place, we do want to achieve total control of all of our payment history.
Yeah.
Everything tied up or revolving around debit
And it
and
has
credit
to
card.
be secured. and-
Yeah, it does, it does.
So who has the email?
I don't know, whoever morehousepayment@icloud.com is.
What we do know is it's a mail, and they've provided their social security number, but it's nothing that we have access to.
Right.
So basically, we're locked out of our own system. We can view it, but we can't run reports. So without that email and password.
And the only alternative is that we could just say, okay, well, we don't want this anymore, we want our own. Going with Square, it's gonna be the same as going with the ADP. We'd have to start fresh and all the history would disappear.
But that's not their history, whoever has the email
That's correct.
account. That's the citizens' history.
That's correct.
Of Morehouse, that's our history.
And the login information, it may be an individual that set it up, but that information belongs to the city.
Can't you,
Who's social security number?
You gotta know
Pardon?
who it is first.
Who's social security number?
The Square system will not, we provided the last 4 digits, and they won't tell us for security reasons who created this account. So,
Kind of shitty of the person who created it.
I agree.
Can you not,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
can you not get, like, prosecution involved? I mean, that's not, I mean, that's our records. Those records belong to the city of Morehouse,
Not that person.
not that person.
Well, I won't speak to that, but what I will say is it shows you the character of the individual.
It does.
It shows you what we're dealing with, but we will get it resolved. One way or another,
So
we'll
we got-
get to the bottom.
I mean, you know, we've tried, exhausted every avenue to try to get them to release that information, and if they're not willing to, then, I mean, we have to move on. And so, at this point, it's looking like it's gonna cost us $500 plus $200 to move on. So, $700 is the minimum to move on, but
From the square.
From the square.
From the
But
square.
do they have
Cost
access,
$700 for the square we're dealing with.
do they have access to like people's debit cards and credit cards that have been used?
I don't know
I don't know. I know.
what
they-
you can view on that side of it.
Right.
I have no idea.
Now, if it's set up like this government, the /AP solutions, it would be something that I could open on my laptop and then access every single transaction that is in there, all the way back to when it originates. So
Yeah.
Square.com, it's been in there for a long time, and so that information is, you know, I just can't capture it and print it. I can look at it, I can take shots with my phone, but no real.
Yeah, I mean, like at my work, we have a credit card machine. And all that information is stored with them, has to be renewed, that contract every year.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we can get in serious violation if any of that information is ever.
I've got a comment. So what Patty was referring to, when you have an entity, whether it be a private company, public, transparency is a real issue. And in the accounting world, that ability to print records out and verify where that money went is called an accounting control, which is a very important tool to figure out if those assets and money are being allotted to the betterment of the community. So when you don't have that, then you start wondering why we don't have that. And that's a good reason for keeping those records and not overriding them. For, if you want to dig into it, you get a forensic audit and figure out where all it, if you got reason to believe. But going forward, so that the city personnel, whoever it is, the outside auditor comes in, they have access to all of that, and they can tell you where the weak spots in your accounts payable are, if there's phony accounts set up, or payments that are, invoices that are being submitted that haven't gone through accounting control procedures. So that's just for the good of everybody that's sitting here, that is the way the business should be operated.
I agree.
And I commend y'all for digging and doing the hard work, because it is, some of it's not fun.
Did we ever get the password to like the AT&T stuff, or?
We're working on it. I was
That should be
informed
illegal.
today that AT&T has been changed.
Good.
Anything else,
No, not right this
Brianna? Caleb?
Hey, I think we should, give James another round of applause, for the flag. And everybody else that was involved, they spent their own time doing that and, and volunteered to do that, and we want to appreciate that and say thank you for that. We appreciate that. It looked like a town even for a moment there. It felt like it anyway.
Yeah,
I looked
it
down and
did.
see all those flags. So that was good stuff. I just want to say thank you again for that. We appreciate that.
Not surprised.
There was others that helped and stuff.
Right, and everybody else that was involved.
Also, the VFW was the one that
VFW
donated the flags up down 114.
I think they need to be sent a nice card or something, or
I
letter of
agree.
appreciation
Thank you.
for the VFW. And did Tractor Supply supply the little light holders? No.
If you don't mind, please thank the rest of the people that were involved. That we did not personally, get a chance to thank them. Please pass that on, that we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, we do. It was a nice surprise, a real nice surprise.
Okay. Ms. Stephanie? Ms. Evelyn? Sir? Ms. Hayes? Ms. Trey? Ms. Glory? Mr. George?
I just have one question. Who do we go to for code enforcement now?
Well, the chief of police is the chief of police here. He should be taking care of code enforcement. I guess to speak a little further on that, I received a phone call on Thursday from Trenton Dial of Office of State Court Administration, and the Office of State Court Administration will be coming down on Thursday to do an audit of our municipal court. Robin, the supervisor over that, she's going to be coming down and meeting with me on Wednesday evening after her meeting with Judge Reeves. He is the circuit level judge that's where our municipal court is transferring. So we will hopefully get away from I was told this, well, Gabby was told something else. I was told the same thing Gabby was told. So we're just trying to get it for the Office of State Court Administration. They're going to get it straight from Judge Reeves, and we will put all of it to rest. So we will know who is responsible, when tickets can be written going forward. Because there's confusion. Chief Hayes was informed that he's not to issue tickets since we don't have a court clerk. As Ms. Gabby spoke on the meeting up here on the 29th, she was told from the manager, from the circuit division, that she could, or that Chief Hayes could issue tickets. Either the prosecutor, which would be our city attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, the prosecutor could enter the tickets in the system or send them to the circuit and they would have them entered into the system. So there's
If they can't write tickets, what do they do?
But I thought there wasn't anyone to collect money for yet.
the issue that we've been told, Chief Hayes, was there's no court clerk to enter the ticket. Because once you enter them, that's when you get set a court date. So, but we'll get the confusion all settled.
Well, that's what I was trying to do. You hear rumors this way, that way, and every way. But when it's all said and done, you really don't know who to go to. So
right.
I just kind of want to know if there was any directive and governmental there.
After Thursday, we would have direction.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, that's where we're at. Because when you get the main players in it, and they come and they tell the city, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna be.
Kind of sets it up on the stage.
Then we can go from there.
So you'll have that information at the next meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Jeff? Man? Helen? Ms. Roberts? Mr. Kirk?
Yeah, nobody raised it. Trash. The door's been set beside her property and Amy Shores, but nobody's doing anything about it. The property beside the house that has got 80 grand invested in that shit. The grass is that high. There's snakes everywhere. There's millions of mosquitoes. I can't even go see my mom. I'm ready to stick a for sale sign there and there. Because nobody can give a ticket for some reason. I'm fed up. I really am. And the trash. I don't care who it offends. Really. I'm about ready to go knock on the door and say, please, can you please help? But it's not going to work out. It's just going to be a bunch of shit because usually a bunch of crackheads. It's going to turn out to be Rick's in trouble. I'm fed up. That's something there, and all the rest of this stuff doesn't concern me. It's all I can't get in my mom's house without, and she said, son, they're eating me. There's thousands and thousands. I'm ready to buy a truck and supply it myself and spray these damn streets. It did help. Yeah, we know where they're coming from, but they also farm right over here where other people might live, and they don't have that problem. They spray. It does keep them down. It's just another excuse not to spend money. It's the farmers. It's not true. So they're eating us up. My mama, they're eating her up. And seriously, I don't mean to sound like I got a real bad attitude, but I'm frustrated.
No, but you know how it was, it's just like all of a sudden the mosquitoes.
They do that.
When they start the irrigation and these fields.
But when you don't do anything, and I have seen a sprayer here, there's been a sprayer here. They're out of control. These things are so bad. I'm surprised we're even sitting here now. I'm talking thousands. Under my mom, at the door and under the
I can't go
carport.
out the door of my house. I gotta go in real quick.
This is out of control. Trashy people. I ain't even complaining about the crackheads anymore playing the streets. We're used to, this, what's above that is the trashy people. The door has been laying there now, somebody got the trash taken. But those people don't know the trash, it's supposed to go in your yard behind something until Saturday or Sunday you put it out. They don't care.
No, they
The code on trash reads that trash is not to be placed out on the curb for pickup prior to 8 p.m. the evening preceding, before pickup, and your cans are supposed to be removed by 8 p.m. on the day of pickup.
Will somebody want to say something to them?
Well, I'm scared too. I'm scared. I don't want to go to jail. And I really don't need to,
all the way down.
yeah, and the COVID, I clean my street. I go from the side.
You can't be.
And Jackie can't do anything. There's no way to. I called him, he hung up on me.
Until they drain the
See, and then you bug spray. It may not take care of them all.
I got a question.
I go to my brother's house, they got as many fields, they're not near as bad. There's nothing being done, and these things are, I'm telling you, everybody here knows, these things are out of control. You better get in before dark, or you're gonna get eaten up.
Mayor, why don't we spray?
But it's something that didn't,
Well, I don't even know what happened to the spray.
the fire,
I've
I
not
used to
seen
see
it in years.
them. Couple of years, right, Jake?
I wonder if there's other
Two, 3 years. I've seen it, and they weren't near as bad. I do remember, they're off the chain.
They used to go down the street, they put a notice up, the post office that they were gonna be spraying on such
Other things that you need to do.
That's
just get kids out there from that.
Some of the best companies will do contracts.
Well, and what we can do for short-term remedy right now, because apparently we can't visibly put our eyes on the fogger over there.
It's with the pump.
Try to contact one of the cities near here and see if there's a possibility of us either renting a fogger from them or getting them to donate their time to come up here.
This man said that some of the that the companies would come over and do.
Well, they don't do it. They don't do it for free.
Right.
They,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
but-
nobody does nothing for
but
free.
We're kind of,
Well, we take up a donation.
I don't want to
Everybody
speak
donate.
the mayor, but, you know, he's kind of been in touch with some of the neighboring mayors around here through the mayor meetings, and they have graciously offered to help with pump trucks and things like that.
Back trucks.
So this may be something that they might be willing to, you know,
Oh, that would be
us pay the
great.
cost of the chemicals or something like that. and
Yeah.
You'll have to have an
I don't
operator.
know if it was.
You have to be licensed.
Or it's not, but.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if we could get one of them to come up here and do it, then possibly with us paying for their time and
You can do
the
it that
chemicals
way.
for them to do it.
But I think we can get our own pump with our own stuff and buy the chemicals, and that new guy has been awesome. I watch it.
Hey, he sure has.
I'm not really, I don't have any brownie points I need to earn with him at all, but he's good. I'm sure he's, but back then, all I see in that truck is an old raggedy truck, $2,000 truck with a pump that I could buy anywhere. And a container. What does the chemical cost? I mean, somebody really needs to
Well,
look
depending on
at
what the chemical is, you may have to have a license.
Well, but Joey, we're a town, somebody can hear with somebody with a license.
Can't just grab your spray anything.
That's
I
what
grab my spray and I spray it every day, but I ain't saying.
Mr. Hand,
Yeah.
you had something?
Research
Yeah.
and everything else.
So nowadays, we're gonna start fencing off a place and we buy a lot fenced off, put all our junk in it, then we fence the high fence so nobody can see it. That's the way it's gonna be.
Well, that's what's happened.
The whole city.
All that junk and plunder that you see down there on Cole Street
Yeah,
got moved from North Scott Street.
so you
Because-
haven't moved it, so it doesn't.
Well, you know, so everybody over here gets tired of complaining about it, and then they just remove that junk and plunder to the other end of town. Well, that's not solving the problem.
No, you're thinking too proud.
It's an ordinance violation where it was set, and it's an ordinance violation where it's at down there. So we will have some better answers for you, Mr. Neal.
I thought there was zoning difference there.
What, junk zone different? No, it's not. And it's, you know, he put up that fence. You know, he's supposed to come and he's supposed to contact Dick Wright and make sure before he's boring holes,
Yeah, you need to
get
do that.
locates done, but it wasn't done.
What did you do, stealing barrels off of the highway department down there?
I can't speak to where any of that stuff comes from, Mr. Mayor. Okay, does the board have anything else?
I have one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So just as a reminder, tomorrow night, we're gonna have a meeting here. If anyone is interested in being on the park board, try to get that going again. And so, as to my knowledge, there's only one person that is, that was on it previously, that is planning on staying. But, so this would be the opportunity, if you were previously on the park board or still interested in being on the park board, show up tomorrow. If you were never on the park board but would like to be on the park board, tomorrow, here in this building, in this room, tomorrow night at 6:30. So if you guys don't mind to spread that word to try to get that going again.
What about fall festival?
Well, we have to have a park board first to get going, so that's a step into that. But I have had, somebody had posted on social media and asked about the restaurant, if they could do some things, and then they reached out to me privately and said, hey, could we have maybe, we have a dinner in there, have something? And I'm like, absolutely. So I asked the new owners, and I said, what's your seating capacity? And I was like, and they're like, oh, we could easily accommodate 20 people or whatever. So if somebody would, could get the ball rolling, maybe they could even cater something over here or something like that. But we got to start. So,
I'll mention one thing.
It's the,
Park improvements, Bradley was talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
There's also COVID infrastructure funds that if you can find a way to, for mental health or people to.
Walking tracks, something to
Exactly.
get people outside.
Yeah, so that's a pot of money that when you turn that in, they evaluate that and they fund that and go on. So it's not where they wait till the end of the year.
Right.
Will they fix up the ballpark?
That's part of that.
Oh, that would be great.
We have to do something about the mosquitoes first.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hey, I don't know.
Thank you for that.
Well,
Thinking that's funny.
but you
I
get
don't
some
think it's
mosquitoes
funny.
that can be in there.
Is that what you're doing? You're making
Maybe
fun,
they would help fix
you're
the
making
gym
fun
over
of what I
there.
said, yeah.
No.
I agree.
It's the biggest price, that is one of the biggest problems we have. I mean, open your door and go home and sleep.
Have a motion on the floor,
Talking about.
I second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
What?
Thank you, guys.
We'll get a motion